In the cold silence of deep space, the Varnak exploration cruiser drifted slowly between dead stars. The crew of the Varnak were proud explorers, known across the galaxy for their courage and curiosity. They believed they had seen everything the galaxy could offer: ruins, abandoned stations, strange planets, and ancient debris. But none of them were ready for what they found that day. Not even close. The ship's long-range scanner picked up something massive, something metal, something that did not match any alien design. The object floated near the edge of a collapsed star, motionless, lifeless, and silent. It had no energy signature, no movement, no heat, nothing at all. Yet the shape was clear, sharp, and deadly. It was a warship, a human warship. Commander Varex stood at the center of the bridge, his dark eyes fixed on the hologram slowly rotating above the console. He had studied human military craft before, but this one looked different, bigger, older, and stronger. The hull was thick like layered armor, and the design looked cruel, efficient, and terrifying. Even dead and drifting, the ship looked like it could destroy fleets. A strange chill moved through the bridge. "Is it active?" Varex asked quietly. The crew checked their panels, lights blinking across the control room. "No energy detected," the scanner officer replied. "It is completely silent, Commander." Varex frowned. Something about the silence felt wrong. Humans never left their warships behind, not without a reason. The Varnak ship moved closer, and the alien crew felt the weight of the unknown object pressing on their minds. The dead star nearby cast a faint red glow over the metal hull, making it look like a sleeping giant. The crew whispered among themselves, asking the same question again and again. Why is it here? Where are the humans? What happened to this ship? Scientist Kiro, the youngest member of the science team, leaned forward and stared at the hologram with nervous excitement. "There are markings on the hull," he said. "Human symbols, old ones from their early war years." Varex nodded slowly. If this was an early human warship, it could be thousands of years old. Older than many civilizations in the galaxy. The Varnak ship positioned itself only a few hundred meters away. The massive human warship towered over them like a metal mountain. Even damaged and silent, it felt alive. It felt aware. As if it was watching them back. "Begin external probe scan," Varex ordered. His voice was calm, but the crew could hear the tension behind it. The scanner shot thin beams of encoded energy across the human hull. The energy crawled over the warship's surface, reading, measuring, analyzing. Everything was normal for the first few seconds. Then something strange happened. The lights on the Varnak bridge flickered for one heartbeat. Just one. But every alien froze. Scanners should not affect ship lights, not in any system. Something had responded to the probe scan. Something inside the human warship. Kiro checked his console again and again, his fingers shaking. "Commander, the probe signal is being returned," he whispered. Varex frowned. "Returned? But we did not request feedback." Kiro swallowed hard. "It is not feedback, it is a counter-scan." The bridge went silent. No one moved. No one breathed. The alien ship had scanned the human warship. And the human warship was scanning them back. The hologram above the console changed shape as the ship's systems tried to interpret the strange returning signals. Human symbols flashed briefly, mixed with broken images like memories trying to wake up. The crew saw shadows of battlefields, explosions, human soldiers shouting orders. And then the hologram went dark. A low pulse echoed across the Varnak ship. It felt like a heartbeat. Not from their ship, but from the human one. Kiro stepped back in horror. "This ship, it is not dead." Varex stared at the silent giant, now sensing something he had not felt before. Fear. True ancient fear. The Varnak crew tried to stop the probe scan, but the system refused the command. Every attempt failed, as if someone else, something else, was controlling it. The human warship's hull shifted slightly, metal plates adjusting like muscles waking after a long sleep. A soft blue line appeared along the ship's spine, glowing faintly. It was not bright, but it was a sign of life. A sign of reactivation. "Commander." The voice came from the comm officer, small and shaking. "There is a message coming from the warship." Everyone stared at her in disbelief. "That is impossible," Varex whispered. "Humans did not leave active ships drifting in space. Not unless there was a very dark reason." The comm officer pressed the signal through. The audio was broken, glitching, almost like a whisper carried through static. Then it became clear for one chilling moment. A cold, mechanical human-like voice spoke. "Identity unknown. Probe detected. Reactivation starting." The message ended. The alien crew stood frozen in fear. Their scanners, their ship, their lives. Everything was now under the attention of a sleeping giant. A giant that was no longer sleeping. And the part ends with Varex whispering the words that would haunt the galaxy. We should have never scanned that ship. The bridge of the Varnak exploration cruiser was filled with a heavy silence. Every alien on board stood frozen, staring at the dark hologram in front of them. Only the echo of the human warship's voice remained in the air, repeating inside their minds like a nightmare. Reactivation starting, the voice had said, cold and mechanical. A warning, a promise, and a threat all at the same time. Commander Varex felt a slow shiver travel down his spine, something he had not felt in many years. Fear, real fear, the kind that touched the soul. He turned toward the scanner officer, who was still staring at her trembling hands. Status report, Varex ordered quietly. She swallowed before speaking. Commander, our scanners are no longer under our control. Varex narrowed his eyes. What does that mean? The officer pointed to her display. The human ship has overridden our system. It is scanning us, inside and out. A gasp ran through the bridge. Alien ships were famous for strong firewalls. No one had ever broken them so easily. Especially not a ship that was supposed to be dead. Scientist Kiro leaned closer to his console, his eyes wide with fear and fascination. It is reading our weapons, our shields, our crew, even our heart rates, he whispered. It is learning everything about us. Before Varex could reply, the hologram flickered again. This time the symbols were clearer, sharper, more focused. Human military codes flashed across the display, mixed with numbers and warnings. Then came images, broken at first, blurry and dark. But slowly they became clearer. They saw the human warship in battle, not drifting but fighting. Its cannons glowed like suns, tearing through enemy fleets. Explosions lit up the void and screams echoed through the comms. There were no human faces, only helmets, armor, and shadows. But the power, the violence, the speed, nothing in the galaxy matched it. The Varnak crew watched in silent horror. This was not just a ship. It was a monster built for war. Another image appeared, this time inside the ship. A long metal corridor, dim blue lights, and bodies lying on the floor. Human bodies, still in armor, unmoving, cold. Dead. Kiro took a step back, his voice barely a whisper. This ship, it is a tomb. The hologram changed again, showing logs and recordings. Human voices echoed through the bridge. Some were giving orders, others were screaming. And then came the chilling line, spoken by a calm voice during chaos. If anyone finds this ship, leave it where it is. The voice was followed by a massive explosion and a sudden cutoff. The recording ended with static. The lights on the Varnak ship flickered again, this time longer. Panels dimmed and then returned like something was pulling power from them. Varex felt sweat form on his forehead. Kiro, what is happening? Kiro checked quickly, his voice shaking. Commander, the human warship is connecting to our energy core. What? That is impossible. No, Commander, it is drawing power from us. It is feeding. A deep hum echoed across space, vibrating through the hull of the Varnak cruiser. The human warship's blue lights grew brighter, one by one. Segments along its massive hull awakened slowly, like a giant opening its eyes. Every alien on the bridge stepped back without meaning to. Instinct told them one thing. This was not a ship reactivating. This was a predator waking up. A new signal broke through their speakers, louder and clearer than before. Reactivation. 20%. Each word sounded heavier than metal. Each word carried the weight of unknown danger. The probe officer suddenly screamed, Commander, the ship is accessing our internal memory files. What files? Varex demanded. All of them. Navigation charts. Military reports. Our own species history. The crew panicked, but the consoles refused to obey. Every command was denied, overridden, blocked. The human warship controlled everything. The hologram changed again, showing a strange dark cloud spreading across stars. It looked alive like a swarm, moving in endless waves. Then came the recording of a human admiral. His voice calm, steady, filled with tired pain. To whoever finds our ship, know this. The darkness you see in these records is not gone. It only sleeps. And if the ship awakens, so does the swarm. The hologram ended. The swarm image remained burned in the crew's minds. A living nightmare, a cosmic enemy, something far worse than human technology. Kiro covered his mouth in fear. This is why the ship is waking up, he whispered. It senses the swarm, it thinks the enemy has returned. The lights on the human warship flared brighter than ever before. A long blue line ran down its spine like a lightning strike. Pieces of armor shifted, adjusting position with heavy metal groans. Varric stepped closer to the window, staring at the massive ship alive once more. He could feel its attention, its presence, its mind focusing on them. He whispered slowly, "What have we awakened?" The speakers crackled once more. Another message came through, colder than ice. Reactivation. 40%. Targets identified. The crew froze. Targets? Did it mean them? The part ends with the bridge lights dimming again. And Kiro whispering, pale as a ghost, "Commander, I think we are the targets." Panic spread through the Varnak bridge like cold fire. No one knew what to do. No one knew how to fight a ship that was waking itself from death. A ship that scanned them, controlled their systems, and now called them targets. Commander Varric raised his voice to regain control. "Everyone stay focused," he ordered, though fear cracked his voice. "We need to understand what the ship wants." But the truth was simple and terrifying. The human warship did not want. It remembered. The hologram flickered again, filling the room with a cold blue light. Human military codes, logs, and encrypted warnings flashed across the displays. Then the images changed into something far worse. They were no longer battle scenes. These were memories. Human memories. Voices and shadows trapped inside the ship like ghosts. A recording began to play. It was soft, broken, like a whisper recorded in a metal tomb. A human soldier's voice spoke, breathing hard. "This is Unit K-17. We are falling back. The swarm is everywhere." The sound of weapons echoed behind him. Screams, explosions, and the crackling of broken comm signals filled the alien bridge. Another soldier shouted, "Seal the doors. Seal the..." The recording cut off suddenly, replaced by static that crawled into the alien's bones. Scientist Kiro trembled as more recordings began to overlap. Human voices crying, laughing, shouting orders, begging for backup. Voices fading into silence. It was like standing inside a haunted battlefield. One voice after another, all of them trapped in the warship forever. The warship pulsed with blue light, sending out a new signal. The hologram changed again, showing a dark shape moving across the stars. A massive living cloud, twisting and writhing like a black ocean. The Oblivion Swarm. A name spoken in legends, warnings, and nightmares. Kiro's voice cracked as he whispered the truth. "These recordings, they are from the last stand of humanity against the swarm." Varric stared at the huge shadow on the screen. "But the swarm is gone, right?" Kiro shook his head slowly. "No one knows, Commander. The records were erased, most details hidden by humans themselves. But this ship, it remembers everything." Another recording started, but this one was different. The voice was calm, old, and filled with sorrow. "This is Admiral Reyes' final log entry. If you are hearing this, you have found the Vanguard. The greatest human warship ever built. And the last prison of the swarm." The aliens felt their stomachs drop. Prison? The warship was a prison? Admiral Reyes continued. "We trapped a fragment of the swarm here, inside the gravity well of a dying star. It sleeps because we sleep. But if the ship ever reactivates, it means something has disturbed the seal." His voice weakened. "I only pray the galaxy is ready." The recording faded. The Varnak crew stood in stunned silence. Fear and disbelief mixing in their minds. The lights on the human warship brightened again. A low, rhythmic pulse echoed through space. It was no longer a heartbeat. It sounded like breathing. Slow, heavy, ancient breathing. The Varnak ship shook suddenly. Panels rattled, alarms beeped, and the crew grabbed onto their chairs. What was that?" the navigator shouted. Kiro's eyes widened as he checked his scanner. "The dead star, it just moved." Varric turned sharply. "Stars do not move." "This one just did," Kiro replied, fear growing in his voice. The hologram zoomed in on the star below. Cracks of red light spread across its surface. Slowly, like something was pushing from inside. Something alive. Something angry. Something waking because they woke the warship. A new human recording began to play. A desperate voice shouting over explosions. "If the Vanguard ever wakes, run. Do not scan it, do not board it, do not fire at it. Just run." The bridge lights flickered again, this time plunging the room into shadows for a moment. When they returned, every display showed one message. A message from the warship's AI. Reactivation. 60%. Threat level rising. Kiro's voice cracked. "Commander, the warship is preparing for battle." Varric clenched his fists. "Against who?" Kiro whispered the answer no one wanted to hear. The swarm. The dead star cracked louder, sending shockwaves through space. A piece of molten stone broke away, drifting upward like a burning island. Something dark moved beneath the cracks. Something huge. Something alive. And as the crew stared in horror, another human voice echoed through the speakers. Quiet, broken, and full of despair. We could not kill the swarm. We only buried it. The part ends with the star shaking violently, and the Varnak crew realizing the truth. They had not woken one monster. They had woken two. The Varnak exploration cruiser trembled as another shockwave rolled through space. The dead star below them cracked open wider, spilling red light like boiling blood. Every alien on the bridge felt their hearts pounding with fear. Something ancient, something powerful, something hungry was waking inside that star. But the human warship, the Vanguard, was waking even faster. Panels on its dark hull opened like metal wings, revealing hidden weapons and glowing systems. Blue energy lines crawled across its surface, pulsing brighter and brighter. What had once been a silent corpse now looked alive, alert, and ready for war. Commander Verex gripped the railing as the Varnak ship shook again. Kiro. Report. Kiro's voice trembled as he read the scanner feed. Commander. The Vanguard is drawing massive energy from the star. How? It is absorbing the star's radiation like fuel. Commander, this ship is not powered by normal means, it feeds on stellar energy. That alone was terrifying. But what came next was worse. A deep rumble traveled through the void. The hologram zoomed toward the dead star. Something huge was pushing against its cracked surface. Black tendrils moved beneath the glowing crust like monstrous veins. The Oblivion Swarm. A living nightmare buried for thousands of years. A creature that had eaten civilizations. A creature humanity fought until their last breath. The bridge fell silent as the Vanguard transmitted a new message. The AI's voice stronger, colder, and more awake than before. Reactivation. 80%. Defensive systems online. Primary weapons charged. The Varnak crew felt the pressure of unseen eyes on their skin. The warship wasn't just scanning them. It was evaluating them. Measuring if they were friend or foe. Prey or threat. Verex raised a shaking hand. Open a channel to the ship. The comm officer hesitated but obeyed. A thin beam of light shot toward the human warship. A connection formed. Static silence then. A voice. Not human, not alive, but cold and powerful. Alien vessel detected. Scanning intent. The crew held their breath. The voice continued. Intent unclear. Designation, potentially hostile. The aliens froze in fear. One wrong move, one wrong signal. And the Vanguard could wipe them from existence. Tell it we mean no harm, Verex ordered in a tense whisper. The comm officer transmitted the message. But before any response came, a thunderous crack erupted from the star. The entire bridge flinched as the star split open like a cracked shell. A monstrous shadow rose from within. A shapeless mass of darkness and glowing red eyes. A creature made of void and fire. A surviving piece of the Oblivion Swarm. Kiro's voice broke. Commander, that is only a fragment. Verex felt his legs weaken. This is a fragment? The creature roared, no sound, only a vibration that made bones ache. Its tendrils reached into space, searching, spreading, tasting. Searching for life to consume. Searching for freedom. The Vanguard reacted instantly. All its blue lights flared at once, turning into white-hot beams. Its engines roared to life, shaking the space around it. Energy fields snapped into place like shields of pure light. The warship's AI spoke again, louder and clearer. Reactivation. 100%. Primary protocol initiated. Operation Last Dawn. The alien crew stared in disbelief. What is Operation Last Dawn? The navigator whispered. Kiro looked at the data flashing across his console and turned pale. It's the final human protocol. A self-sustaining combat mode. The ship acts alone, without any humans. It fights until the enemy is destroyed. Or until the ship burns out. The Vanguard aimed its massive front cannon at the creature. A sphere of blue-white energy grew at its center, bright enough to blind. It hummed louder and louder as it approached full charge. Commander, the weapons officer screamed. It is going to fire. Verex swallowed his fear and shouted. Full retreat. Get us out of the blast zone. But before they could move, the Vanguard transmitted one final message. The recording. A human voice, old and tired. Admiral Reyes. If you are hearing this, run. This ship was never meant to wake again. If it has awakened, then the darkness has returned. The message ended as the Vanguard's cannon reached peak power. The creature roared again, shaking the stars around them. The Varnak crew braced themselves, and the Vanguard unleashed its first shot. A beam of pure light tore forward, tearing the dark creature apart with cosmic force. The part ends with the explosion lighting up the star field, and the Varnak crew watching, terrified yet unable to look away. As the ancient human warship began its final war once more, the explosion from the Vanguard's cannon ripped across space like a newborn star. The dark creature screamed without sound, its body tearing apart into burning pieces. The Varnak ship shook violently as shockwaves hit them again and again. Panels sparked, lights flickered, and several crew members fell to the ground. But even through the chaos, every alien on the bridge watched the human warship with wide, terrified eyes. The Vanguard floated in the center of the blast like a living sun. Its hull glowed with white-blue energy, its engines roared like thunder. For the first time in thousands of years, the ancient human warship was fully awake, fully alive, fully ready for war. Commander Varek steadied himself and looked at the hologram. The creature was still alive but barely. Pieces of its shadowy body curled and twisted, trying to reform. Its tendrils were burned and broken, but the red sparks inside it still glowed with hate. It's trying to heal, Kiro whispered. This thing cannot die easily. The Vanguard detected it instantly. A new energy pulse built deep inside its core. The warship charged its weapons again, aiming at the creature that refused to die. Another message came through their speakers. A voice colder than every dead star around them. Secondary protocol engaged. Eliminate threat. The creature lunged toward the warship, stretching its body into a massive spear of darkness. The Varnak crew gasped as the shadow rushed forward faster than any living thing they had seen. It struck the Vanguard with impossible force, but the warship did not move. Its shields lit up like a blazing wall, cutting through the darkness. The creature screeched in pain as its form cracked again. It twisted back, shrinking, trembling, almost afraid. For the first time in its existence, the monster of legends found something stronger than itself. The Vanguard fired a second beam, then a third, then a fourth. Each shot brighter, sharper, more devastating than the last. The dark creature shrank smaller and smaller until it became nothing but a glowing ember, a dying spark floating above the broken star. And then the Vanguard lit up with a final blinding burst of power, a beam so bright that even the Varnak ship had to shield its sensors. The small ember exploded into dust. The Oblivion Swarm fragment was finally dead. The bridge fell silent, not peaceful silent, but terrified silent, because they all knew one terrible truth. If one small fragment caused this much destruction, what would a full swarm do? And how many fragments still slept across the stars? The warship dimmed slightly, its bright lines fading to a calmer blue. Its weapons retracted, shields lowered, but its engines still glowed. It was alive, aware, and watching. The Varnak crew held their breath as the warship turned slowly toward them. The massive metal giant aligned perfectly with their position, like a predator focusing on something small and fragile. A message came through the speakers once more. But this time it wasn't a warning. It wasn't a threat. It was something else. Something that felt almost tired. Threat neutralized. Evaluating secondary targets. The Varnak crew froze in terror. Were they the secondary targets? Varex raised his hands slowly as if the warship could see him. Kiro, send a message. Tell it we are not enemies. Kiro typed the message with shaking fingers. It felt like speaking to a god of war. A machine older than their civilization. A weapon built to destroy the impossible. The message was sent. For a long, heavy moment, no answer came. Then the warship's lights shifted from blue to a softer white. A sign of calculation. Understanding. Recognition. Finally, the AI spoke again. Its voice calmer now, colder but no longer hostile. Alien vessel. You are not the target. The swarm was the target. The entire bridge exhaled at once. Relief washed over them like warm air after a storm. But the AI wasn't finished. Humanity is gone. But our war continues. The swarm is not fully dead. This was only one. The crew felt the fear return twice as strong. If there were more fragments. If the swarm ever returned fully. No species in the galaxy could survive. The Vanguard turned away from them slowly. Its engines glowed brighter, preparing for departure. It transmitted one final message. A message the Varnak crew would never forget. We will continue the fight. until the last swarm is destroyed. Do not follow. The massive warship jumped into faster-than-light travel with a burst of light, leaving nothing behind but silence. A silence filled with awe, fear, and respect. The Varnak crew stared at the empty space where the warship had disappeared. They knew the galaxy would never believe their story. They knew no council or empire could ever prepare for what was coming. And they knew one thing with absolute certainty. Humanity might be gone, but their war, their legacy, and their unstoppable warship still haunted the galaxy,